Before we dive into the mystical journey of unlock your hidden energy flow, let's ignite the torch of energy with one simple action. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Every subscription from you becomes a spark of light that helps this story shine brighter across the world, and that light will stay with you through every chapter of this epic adventure. Now let's begin.
Daniel had always been the kind of person who pushed himself harder than anyone else. Deadlines, projects, expectations. His days blurred into a loop of glowing screens, cold coffee, and the constant hum of productivity. From the outside, he looked like he had it all together. A steady job, an apartment in the city, a phone full of notifications that reminded him how connected he was. But deep inside, something had gone quiet. He used to wake up and feel a spark, a simple joy in watching sunlight pour through his window or hearing the city come alive. Now he woke up heavy. The alarm felt like a battle cry, and every morning was another small war between what he had to do and what he wanted to feel. He could no longer remember the last time he truly felt alive. One morning, Daniel sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the floor as the pale morning light crept across the room. He felt like his energy, his flow, had dried up somewhere between endless deadlines and unfinished dreams. That day, for reasons he couldn't explain, he didn't reach for his phone. He just sat there, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, to his own breathing, to the silence that had always been there, waiting for him to notice. And in that silence, something small stirred. Not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. A quiet thought. There has to be more than this. Later that morning, Daniel stopped by a small cafe on his way to work. The place wasn't new. He'd passed it 100 times before. But that day he noticed it. The soft light, the smell of roasted beans, the gentle buzz of conversation. He ordered a black coffee and found himself sitting next to an older man reading a book titled The Way of Natural Energy. The man smiled. "You look like someone who's running on empty." Daniel chuckled awkwardly. "You could say that." The old man closed his book. "Most people spend their lives chasing energy," he said. "But real energy isn't something you chase. It's something you flow with." The words hit Daniel like a breeze through a closed window. "Flow with?" he asked. The man nodded. "Everything in nature flows. Water, wind, breath. Only humans try to force everything. You've forgotten how to flow." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the words in his head. "You've forgotten how to flow." What did that even mean? He got up, opened his window, and felt the cold air drift into his apartment. For the first time in months, he took a slow, deliberate breath. And when he exhaled, he realized how long it had been since he truly breathed. Over the next few days, Daniel began to notice things he'd long ignored. The sound of wind in the trees near his office, the rhythm of his footsteps on the pavement, the way sunlight shifted through clouds like it was painting the world in motion. He realized that life wasn't still. It was moving, always, and maybe he could learn to move with it again. So one weekend, he left the city. No plan, no phone notifications. Just a backpack, a notebook, and silence. He found himself in a park near a river, the kind of place he used to love as a kid. He sat by the water for hours, watching it flow around rocks, over branches, never stopping, never forcing, just flowing. Something in him softened. He took out his notebook and wrote, "Energy is not what I do. It's what I allow." That single sentence became his quiet mantra. He started small, waking up without rushing, stretching, breathing before opening his laptop. He replaced loud motivation podcasts with moments of stillness. He learned that sometimes doing less didn't mean giving up. It meant aligning, and slowly his life began to breathe again. Weeks passed. His coworkers noticed something different about him. He smiled more. He didn't snap under pressure. When things went wrong, and they still did, he didn't crumble. He flowed. One afternoon, Daniel met his friend Sarah for coffee. "You seem different," she said. "Peaceful, somehow." Daniel smiled. "I just stopped fighting the current." Sarah laughed. That sounds easier said than done. He nodded. Yeah, but peace isn't something you find. It's something you stop resisting. The more he practiced this quiet way of living, the more he felt connected to others, to nature, to himself. He began sharing small reflections online. Nothing grand, just daily reminders like, slow down. You're allowed to rest. Or your energy grows where your attention flows. To his surprise, people began responding. Comments from strangers. I needed this today. Your posts helped me breathe again. Daniel realized something profound. When you heal yourself, you don't heal alone. Your energy, your flow, ripples outward, touching others in ways you'll never fully see. One Sunday morning, he returned to the river. It was the same place where he'd first written those words in his notebook. He sat on the same rock, closed his eyes, and let the wind brush against his skin. He thought about everything that had changed, and how, strangely, nothing had. The world was still moving. The river was still flowing. But this time, so was he. He reached into his bag and pulled out a letter he'd written months ago. A letter to his younger self. He read it quietly, his voice trembling. You don't need to earn your worth through exhaustion. You don't have to chase peace. It's already here. Let go. Flow. He folded the letter and placed it in the river. It drifted away slowly, then disappeared beneath the surface. He smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. The weeks that followed felt different, not because his life had become perfect, but because he learned to stop fighting against it. He understood now that energy flow wasn't a mystical concept. It was a practice of attention, of acceptance, of being alive. Each morning he'd wake up and whisper to himself, "Today I will flow." And somehow that small sentence was enough to guide him through whatever the day brought. Months later, Daniel began volunteering at a community space that hosted mindfulness and nature retreats. He helped organize small gatherings where people could unplug, breathe, and reconnect. He didn't call himself a teacher or a coach. He was just a fellow traveler, sharing what he'd learned. One day during a group discussion, someone asked him, "How do you stay so calm, even when life gets messy?" Daniel smiled. "I stopped thinking calm means control. It means trust. The river doesn't stop flowing when it hits a rock. It finds another path." The group fell silent. The air felt lighter, as if everyone had taken a breath they didn't know they were holding. And in that moment, Daniel understood what the old man in the cafe had meant. Flow isn't about speed or effort. It's about remembering that you are part of life's current, not apart from it. When you stop forcing, you start aligning. When you let go, you grow. That evening, Daniel walked home under the golden glow of sunset. The city didn't feel heavy anymore. Every sound, cars, wind, footsteps, felt like part of a rhythm he could finally hear. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't rushing somewhere. He was simply walking, breathing, alive. He stopped at a small bridge and looked at the reflection of the sky in the river below. The same river that had carried his letter months before. He whispered softly, "Thank you." And in the quiet hum of evening, he could almost hear the river answer. Not in words, but in flow. Life doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to stay present. Your energy flows where your attention goes. So breathe, let go, and flow with life every single day.